today's topic is buying a home. Knowing how to do it, knowing how it's played, how the system works is what's so important. So in today's installment, I'm going to talk first about how to finance the house. And then later, I'm going to talk about the home buying process. So let's get right to it with what are the things you need to know about financing a home. And I'd like for you, months before you plan to buy, roughly somewhere around 4 months out, I want you to do something normally I would not recommend, and that is I want you to get copies of all 3 of your credit reports, from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, all at once. And if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you can do that. And then go through those reports thoroughly, because what you're looking for is a problem maybe you forgot about and you need to deal with, like an unpaid collection or whatever, or an error on your report. Errors technically are supposed to take roughly 30 days to correct, but my experience is the credit bureaus are so contemptuous of you that it's not unusual for clearing up an error on a report to take as long as 3 or 4 months. So that's why you get the reports 4 months out. And you go through everything, you've got collections there, deal with them. Because those things can bring the financing of a home to a halt. If you see that you have a fair amount of debts as you look through your report, know that those ratios, the amount of debt you're carrying, that will affect your ability to go through underwriting and qualify for a mortgage. So you want to attack how much debt you're carrying. And you may find that, oops, well, I'd like to buy a home in 4 months. Maybe it's going to take me 6 or 7, or maybe I'm ready. But you really want to go through and study how you're doing with the money you already have. Now, you complete all that, and you're ready to figure out what you're good for, what kind of money you should be looking at. You will be approved for a higher purchase price home than you may realize. And you may think, okay, that's the price point you should be looking at. But then I want you to think through what that translates to in a monthly payment. And then to that monthly payment, you have to add taxes and insurance. And then there are things you have to pay for that when you're a renter, you don't have to pay for. Repairs, namely, things like that. So I want you to look at what kind of payment you'd be facing and be realistic with yourself. Is that a payment level you can handle, or will it make you miserable, what's referred to as house poor? As far as where you should get qualified or pre-qualified, the key is to shop with many. And when you're buying a home, I advise you to avoid the online lenders, which would be fine to go to if it was just a refinance. I'd like for you to go to a mortgage broker or mortgage banker, a credit union, and if you have anybody at a bank you've ever been really happy with as a loan officer, you get a quote from him or her. And you can put the lenders into competition with each other, especially once you get to the stage where it's time to choose your loan and lock in, because mortgages work like anything else if you make them competitive. But unfortunately, the overwhelming number of home buyers only go to a single lender, and that's it. They don't comparison shop. And it's the most expensive thing we ever do, which is why the key is not to tell you, oh, go to a credit union, or go to a mortgage broker, or go to a mortgage banker, or go to a bank, or go to a mortgage company you had a loan from before. It's not a place you go. It's as many of those as you can. And often you'll find that your lowest rate offers are going to be from a credit union, which is not how the mortgage market used to work. But I said many times, not always. which is why you need to shop the market. It's also a great idea for you to get quotes from a mortgage broker or mortgage banker. Terms are used interchangeably, but actually mean different things, although people who are not mortgage bankers will use that term sometimes. A mortgage banker is somebody who has their own source of funds. A mortgage broker is a salesperson who goes out and shops for a loan for you. You want to have more than one source working for you when it comes time to looking for a loan. Particularly first-time home buyers, though, tend to only go to a single mortgage lender. Big mistake, because you go to a single mortgage lender, you haven't put yourself into a competitive environment. Mortgage lending is very competitive. And so when one lender who you might really like offers you a loan, but somebody else offers you a better loan, you go to the person you like and say, hey, I've got this offer somewhere else, and I'd really like to go with you, but I think I've got to go with them. And then they have to make a business decision, if they have the latitude to do so, to make you a better offer. What is an offer, by the way? It's not just the interest rate, not just the rate. Are you going to have to pay points? Each point is 1% of the amount of money you're borrowing. A lot of people will quote you a low rate, and unless you ask, they don't disclose to you the points you're having to pay to get that low rate. It's all the things that come under the category of closing costs, which now when a lender gives you a statement of closing costs, they cannot exceed that under the law. So you have real numbers so you can compare lender to lender. Remember again, most first-time home buyers only go to one lender. But in order to protect yourself, you need to go to multiple sources. One place not to waste your time with, the giant banks. The giant banks charge much more for loans than the other sources I named. You might find also, although there aren't that many left, small local banks as a viable alternative, or possibly a regional bank. But the biggest banks, waste of your time and money for a mortgage. Now, as you go through the mortgage lending process, you will have to do a lot of paperwork and a lot of verifications for the lender you decide to target in and use. The information they ask for will feel like torture at certain points. Get them the information right away. Whatever you're asked for, document you got it and you gave it to them, but get it right away. You do not want to have a finger pointed at you and say that you're not closing on time for your home because you didn't provide paperwork on a timely basis. And by the way, I'm going to talk about the actual home shopping process I recommend. I want to talk now about shopping for that home. Now, homes come in two flavors, new and used. I am a huge fan of used homes. That's what I buy. I buy either used homes or distressed homes. Homes that are what are referred to as people problems homes. Foreclosures, relocations, estate sales, divorce, factors that motivate someone to have to sell a home or that make a home a wounded duck in the market, even though there's nothing specifically wrong with the home. The people problem is why the home might present a deal. A lot of people love buying a new home, being the first person to ever own it. But because of a number of factors in the market, the spread in cost per square foot between a new home and a used home is maybe the largest ever since stats like that have been kept. The reason is builders of new homes are facing more difficulty in acquiring land to put new homes on, and local governments in particular are imposing more and more fees and permit costs and impact fees and a variety of expenses from utilities that are making the spread in per square foot cost of new homes much larger and making the new homes much more expensive than used. So used homes, basically, you're getting a home in a neighborhood that's already established. The warts of that home are already showing. Where in a new home, a lot of times they're hidden. And so I have this massive bias towards used, just because I want you to get the most bang for your buck. But the reality is, homes present a better deal in the market pretty much across the board buying used homes. But how do you go about the process of buying them? The way you do it is different than it used to be because of online access that is unprecedented to information about homes, neighborhoods, areas, and that information is at your fingertips. It does not replace the enormous value that a real estate agent provides to you as a buyer of a home. But it allows you to be much more efficient with your time, at least virtually look at many more houses than you ever could have done before the era of homes being available on your phone. And I strongly recommend that you download apps to your phone like Redfin or Zillow or whichever one you like or both of them. And you look as you're riding around and you see a neighborhood you like, whatever, as you explore, you're able to look instantly when you pass a home that's for sale. You're both seeing it with your own eyes and learning about it on the app and seeing the square footage, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the age of it, so much about it, and also the price per square foot. And so the more you windshield survey like that, the more valuable that information becomes in you developing a sense of what kind of house you can really target towards and what neighborhoods appeal to you the most. And that way, by the time you get to a real estate agent who, if he or she has been at it for a good while, there's going to be so many things. They're going to know more in their pinky than you do in your whole body about real estate. But you will have culled the herd of houses for sale. And that buyer's agent that you hire to work for you is going to be able to help you with so many things, including the hardest thing for a lot of home buyers, keeping emotion out of it. One of my rules with buying a home is that you have plenty of time to fall in love with a home once you own it. But before you own a home, you've got to have ice water in your veins. A very hard thing for home buyers to do, because home buyers will obsess about a home that they're trying to buy, and then you will make mistakes. You may well overpay, and you may ignore valuable signals about why that is not the right house for you. Either because the neighborhood that it's in, the schools that serve it, any of a number of factors. And I used to have a rule I called the 100 house rule, that I wanted you to look at 100 houses before you made an offer on a home. Today, online, you can look at well more than that in a couple of days. And so now it's all about being thorough and not focusing on one house, but coming up with the zone that you're interested in. By zone, I mean streets, neighborhoods, areas that you would be comfortable living in, and then having target houses. Last time I bought a house, after all the searching online, we came up with 18 target homes. And we ended up ultimately buying one of those 18. The more methodically you can go about looking for a home, the better you're going to do. And you don't buy a home without having a home inspection. But I'm a big believer in having what's called a deal killer inspector. That's the one all the agents hate because he or she messes up deals. Because they're not going to gloss over things so they can get more agent referrals, so they can get deals done easier. You want somebody who tells you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. Because if you are falling in at least like with a home, maybe love, you don't want that person telling you what's wrong with it, but you need to hear it. And it certainly doesn't hurt to hire an inspector who has an engineering background and to scan potential inspectors through a site like ASHI, the American Society of Home Inspectors. Someone who's been through a clear, meaningful training program to be an inspector, I think are necessary steps. And good luck to you with the home purchase.